You can definitely tell it's a holiday week as the news is somewhat slow, but still got plenty to tackle. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and just a programming note, going to be off Thursday to celebrate Thanksgiving. Hopefully you're able to get away a bit and enjoy time with family and friends and lots of food and drink. But I'm also going to take Friday off as well, just because I might have that turkey hangover. So programming notes. All right, tomorrow we'll have a live program for you to wrap up the week. But don't forget, here with Illinois in Focus, we'll still get you the weekend edition as well. So Jim Talamonte and I, we plan on getting that put together before the holiday. That way you've got something else that'll keep you informed about things that we don't necessarily tackle each and every weekday here with Illinois in Focus Daily. So the weekend edition, you'll get that with the podcast here on YouTube or anywhere you get the podcast. And I also want to remind people, too, we do stream this live show each and every weekday morning at around 8 o'clock. And it's something that you can wake up to, come in, check out, catch a couple of moments, and then duck out and come back and get the segments later if you need to. But you can get the podcast as well. But go to the website, thecentersquare.com, where you can get the latest headlines in your inbox simply by signing up for the newsletter. It's a free newswire service. You can see here you've got national headlines about the Supreme Court ruling next year that could reshape transgender rights beyond sports. You've got discussion about travel with the FAA and Thanksgiving traveling across the country. Also, a lot of action in the courts, and that's something we're actually going to be talking about today when it comes to different types of things happening in courts where Donald Trump's involved, including updates on the state's migrant sanctuary policies being challenged by the Trump administration, but also the state of Illinois challenging the Trump administration's use of the National Guard. A few things that we'll tackle here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Again, go to the website, thecentersquare.com, get the headlines in your inbox, but wake up with us here with Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning. I'm Greg Bishop, editor of Illinois at thecentersquare.com.
They were telling troops. They were telling troops, follow the law. And who's responding negatively to that? The 34-time convicted felon in the White House.
It's Governor J.B. Pritzker last week being asked about comments that President Donald Trump made on social media in response to Democrats who are in Congress and also members of the military at one point are saying that troops should not follow unlawful orders. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and all of this seems to focus around the use of the National Guard and going against migrant sanctuary policies and seeming to have the Trump administration step back from all of that. Not sure exactly the motive here, but you've seen all the national headlines about this and the back and forth about, the use of the word sedition and punishable by death, and the president putting that out there after this video circulated from some members of Congress urging the members of the military to, I guess, question orders that they receive from higher ups, including the commander-in-chief. Where are we at in all of this? Well, aside from the rhetoric, aside from the ongoing back and forth with, the president of the United States and Democrat members of Congress, and even Governor J.B. Pritzker, as you heard there, he was asked last week about this. We're not going to necessarily delve into all of that. We're going to look at the courts and where the, third branch of government, right? You got the legislative, it's Congress. You got the executive, it's the president, and then you've got the judiciary, which is the court, the judicial branch. So a lot of things being hashed out in court, and nothing has been settled yet when it comes to the use of the Guard. And as of right now, the Trump administration is not deploying the Guard in Illinois. That has been blocked for the moment as the case goes through the courts, and we'll take a look at some of this here in a moment. But real quick on the rhetoric, Governor J.B. Pritzker talking about this last week when he was asked by a reporter about comments that the president made on social media in response to Democrats urging members of the military to not follow unlawful orders.
Well, remember what they were asking. They were telling troops, follow the law. And who's responding negatively to that? The 34-time convicted felon in the White House. And so when he attacks people, it's often because he knows that what he is doing is wrong. And so he wants to make it seem like someone who is saying something negative about him is the wrongdoer. He's the one. And he says these things because he wants to deflect from what he's often asked people to do in government, people who are serving the public to do, which is to do things that are illegal. We saw that time and time again, and frankly, you still see it in the city of Chicago with ICE and CBP. And so that's the kind of thing that certainly people who have served their country, veterans that are serving now in Congress, have an absolute right. And these are decent, honorable people. They have an absolute right to stand up and say to everyone, follow the law. That's all they were saying to the troops of the United States.
And again, you've got the implication there that things that Donald Trump is ordering officials to do is illegal. Well, it's being challenged in the courts. Whether or not it's illegal, the final determination hasn't been made. A lot of this, especially when it comes to enforcement of federal immigration law, still very much being debated, again, in the courts, as you've got a case against the use of force still making its way through the courts. You've got a case concerning the use of the National Guard. That is pending now in the appeals court and even heading to the U.S. Supreme Court on preliminary grounds. You've got the ongoing issue of the state's migrant sanctuary policies and how that's being responded to by the state, with the U.S. challenging that. So you've got a whole host of things we're going to tackle here as we pull up some court documents. And in particular, let's go ahead and take a look at one in which the state of Illinois being sued by the federal government, now in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. Let's pull this up, where you've got the federal government essentially laying out their case, saying that the docketing statement here, the United States filed the action in the district courts in the Eastern Division of Illinois, Northern District, Eastern Division, naming as defendant state of Illinois J.B. Pritzker in his official capacity as governor, the city of Chicago in his capacity of mayor, Brandon Johnson, Larry Snelling as police superintendent, Cook County defendants as well, and the sheriff of Cook County. So this is the sanctuary state challenge, right, where Illinois has laws in place that says state and local police cannot cooperate with federal law enforcement when it comes to immigration enforcement. So we'll go ahead and read through this. Although the district court had statutory jurisdiction over the United States claims, it lacked Article 3 jurisdiction over its claims against the county defendants. Though the United States is a sovereign entity, Article 3's rules apply in all cases regarding the plaintiffs. And while the United States believes that the county's ordinance is valid under the Constitution's Supremacy Clause, the Supreme Court has made clear that any litigant who invokes the power of judicial review must be able to show not only that the statute is invalid, but that he sustained or is immediately in danger of sustaining some direct injury as a result of its enforcement. Goes on, and this is a 9-page filing. They discuss a case in particular that invokes the judicial power to determine the validity of executive or legislative action. They must show that he sustained or is immediately in danger of sustaining direct injury. This remains true even when, as here, the plaintiff is a governmental entity asserting interference with its sovereign regulatory authority. Such plaintiffs still must point to imminent acts by the defendants that would tangibly interfere with that authority. Goes on to talk about another case, more case law. So here you've got the defendant's response to the state when it comes to the sanctuary policies. Continuing on, it says that the United States request for declaratory relief is not an independent source of federal jurisdiction or legalese. Rather, a court looks to the nature of the threatened action in the absence of the declaratory judgment suit to determine whether jurisdiction exists. So again, we're getting mired here in jurisdiction and questions about whether somebody has been harmed. And again, you've got the ongoing cases when it comes to the state's migrant sanctuary policies. The most recent filing is showing that, the granting extensions for time. So to file more filings. So the sanctuary states policies in Illinois being challenged by the federal government, mired in court. So how can you say one's legal and one's not, or following illegal orders or not following illegal orders, or giving illegal orders? The judiciary is there for that purpose. Now, at the same time, all of this is going on, challenging the state's migrant sanctuary policies, and we'll do what we can to, get out the flow chart of how this case is playing out in the courts, right? We've done a lot when it comes to the challenge against Illinois' gun and magazine ban of finding out where it's going, the trajectory of these cases. But obviously, this is a more complex issue when it comes to the federal government's use of force and enforcing federal immigration law, and the state not cooperating with that. And you see what happens on the streets outside of Broadview and the clashes between police and protesters, with some pointing fingers saying that Democrats are encouraging these street clashes, and the Trump administration wanting to bring in the National Guard to defend those federal employees enforcing federal immigration law and the property there, like in Broadview. Now, Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, she visited the Broadview facility and had this to say to members of the media shortly after visiting that facility. Here she is talking with a post she made on X.
What's called the ranking member on the House Homeland Security Subcommittee. What that means is that I'm the senior most Democrat in charge of funding the Department of Homeland Security. And so in my oversight capacity, I came to visit the Broadview processing facility today. We've been trying for months to get in. I just want to start there. What I saw, there were no detainees present. The ICE leadership that we met with said that they were updating their security systems, and so all detainees and staff were not present. We saw all of the holding cells. The largest, I would say, has probably 45 chairs, and then each holding cell had a toilet. The toilet was not in any way anything that any of us would be comfortable using, certainly not in an area that is open to others. They had signage in English and Spanish saying that detainees could use a shower at least every other day upon request. They said that detainees were fed meals of Subway or food from Walmart. They do not have a food vendor. There's no one providing medical care. They had one package of Huggies. They had some sanitary pads for menstruating women. and they had foot powder. It does not meet what I would consider to be the minimum criteria for a detention cell. And the staff people from ICE were clear with us that they are under no legal obligation to meet those criteria because this is not a detention facility. This is a processing facility. The way that immigrants and U.S. citizens have been treated here is unacceptable. And, it doesn't make us more safe.
And I think here's where you can start to see where the rhetoric versus the reality can kind of just clash, right? While the U.S. government is suing the state of Illinois, trying to say your migrant sanctuary policies are hindering our efforts to enforce federal immigration law, and that's mired in the courts. They're still dealing with all of that in the district and the appeals court and so on. You've got a member of Congress going to a processing facility, not a detention facility, a processing facility in Illinois outside Chicago in Broadview, and saying it's not the place to detain people. Well, it's not the place they're detaining people. It's a processing facility. She said in another video that there weren't any detainees there when she went to go visit. Again, a processing facility. Illinois does not allow for the detention facilities that ICE needs in a jurisdiction to not just hold individuals, but prepare them for either deportation or beyond. It's not a processing facility; it's a detention facility. And the Way Forward Act that Illinois passed, which was after the Trust Act, again, migrant sanctuary policies prohibiting local state law enforcement from cooperating with federal law enforcement. The Way Forward Act also took away the ability for county jails to offer their jail beds to ICE to detain or to house detainees in the processing process. So she says that, this is not the way it should be. But in Illinois, they've kind of, the policies seem to have made it difficult to have this deportation process after a detainer is issued to go and grab somebody here illegally and then go through the legal process to do that. So interesting to see that criticism from Congresswoman Underwood. But continuing on now, all of this while, again, focused on the Broadview with Lauren Underwood visiting that, Congresswoman saying that she didn't like the conditions she saw there as a processing facility. I think they have to go to Indiana for a detention facility, but regardless, that storyline obviously getting some headlines. While you've also got the clashes that we've seen on the streets outside the Broadview facility, clashes with federal law enforcement, and then all of a sudden state police and local police got involved and set up some protest perimeters, and they've had to modify those multiple times. And now all I'm seeing is videos of Illinois State Police grappling with protesters. So police are working to keep the streets safe around the Broadview facility. But, President Donald Trump had ordered the National Guard to go into Illinois, and last month that was blocked by a district court. Well, all of that now, at least on preliminary grounds, all of that now is in front of the U.S. Supreme Court with a question from the Trump administration to address this issue. And you've got the docket from the U.S. Supreme Court not showing yet that it's been put to conference, but a lot of briefing has been had over the past month and almost 2 months now, as you've got the applications referred to the courts. You've got Justice Barrett, the one that's going to possibly handle this in conference, and the various other briefs that have been filed. But all of this, while that goes on, the district court is continuing on with some of their policies and procedures to have this case move forward, including even late last week, papers were filed by Kristi Noem, Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, all about the use of the guard. And I want to see if I can pull this up here so we can just take a look at the state of Illinois versus Donald Trump and others. This is an order that was issued by the district court, I believe. And here we've got, this is from last month, just kind of spelling out the plaintiffs and the defendants' positions and the use of the National Guard, and the Texas National Guard was also deployed, but going through and arguing that they're going to put a temporary hold on all of this. And that's why it's in front of the U.S. Supreme Court now, this temporary hold. So a lot of stuff here, a lot of legalese, a lot of corners and mazes to go through with multiple cases. And this stuff, by the way, is just the cases around immigration enforcement and the use of the Guard. This doesn't deal with whether or not the Trump administration can dismantle federal agencies. There's lawsuits around that. There were lawsuits around SNAP benefits, lawsuits around the diversity, equity, and inclusion executive orders. There are just dozens and dozens and dozens of lawsuits that have been filed back and forth between the Trump administration and various states, including Illinois. And it can be quite Kafkaesque, I think is the proper use of that word. All right. We'll do what we can to make sense of it all for you, and that's what we do at thecentersquare.com. So get to the headlines and register for that newsletter, and that way you can wake up with not just stuff from Illinois, but again, you look at federal courts, a national headline here, blocking Trump from dismantling 4 agencies. You can read up on that and so much more. All right, it is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning. Again, programming note, we are going to be off on Thursday for the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're also going to take Friday off so I can get out of that turkey hangover I'm likely going to induce upon myself Thursday. So greatly appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. We'll be back at it tomorrow morning and bring you the latest here. All right. That was a rough one. I mean, you got so many just twists and turns, and it's in this court, it's in that court, and under which cup hides the ball. Regardless, I think it's important to just understand where these cases are in the broader context of the rhetoric that's being used politically. Sometimes you just got to push that aside and just look at, okay, well, where are we at with the courts? The courts are the ones that are going to make the ultimate determination, either all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. How that all plays out, we'll watch and see. All right, guys, have yourselves a wonderful rest of the day. We'll be back at it tomorrow. You can always go check out all other kinds of stuff at thecentersquare.com, including clips.thecentersquare.com, where you can find clips of the latest news happenings. All right, I mean, you've got stuff from President Trump, stuff from Governor Pritzker, clips from press briefings and congressional hearings and beyond. So go check out clips.thecentersquare.com. All right. Some of the raw stuff that you can get your hands on for your own edification. So go check that out. But also don't forget, you can get to the YouTube channel and watch some of the other programming from the Center Square, including Everyday Economics. So be sure to go check that out as well. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Yeah. All right. We'll see you back here tomorrow. It's a holiday. You can definitely tell it's a holiday week. Stuff's gonna move pretty slow. Might pick back up after this week, but then we get into another holiday week with Christmas and New Year's. Definitely the doldrums of the end of the year, but exciting to be with friends and family, so take advantage of that. We'll see you back here tomorrow, guys. Enjoy.